claim that former Vice President Biden made. Core inflation is at 2.4%, right?
Wrong.
The truth? Core inflation is actually 4.3%, just to be clear. Now, here's the thing. It's really hard because what they do is they'll say there's core CPI, there's CPI, which is the kind of total inflationary rate. Then there's headline CPI that includes food. There's many different ways to measure inflation. The way that former Vice President Biden did this is he said over the last 3 months, inflation went down. Core CPI went down to a number that is 2.4%, meaning he used a period of 3 months, but then applied it at an annualized rate when the annualized rate that we're actually using is from August to August. Those are the typical rates. And so the issue with this becomes pretty complicated when you add up the math yourself. He's lying. He's full of shit. Yeah. That's...
So good old Jay Powell and the squad down at the Fed just achieved a milestone. 3,000% inflation since its inception. Let's get a round of applause here. That is extraordinary. Everyone, come on, give it up. I mean, if you're aiming to score high, why not go all out, right? If we do the math, that's almost... well, it's a lot of zeros. I like to think of it as fiat bullshit economics in its prime. This is what it does. It makes you poor and enriches the parasitic class. But hey, it looks like it's time to get on zero and burn those cuck bucks for hard money. We get a lot to cover. Keynesians are in disbelief. Let's get it.
I really doubt that we're going to see an inflationary cycle.
Most economic analysts believe that it will have a temporary or transitory impact.
The faster than expected increase in some of those prices is actually a good sign.
The overwhelming consensus is going to pop up a little bit and then go back down. No one's talking about this great,
This is something that will settle down.
Transitory.
And the data shows that most of the price increases we've seen were expected and are expected to be temporary. There's nobody suggesting there's unchecked inflation on the way. It's highly unlikely that's going to be long-term inflation that's going to get out of hand. I don't know anybody who's worried about inflation.
Over the last couple of months, we actually saw it trended downward.
President Biden's chief of staff, Ron Klain, enthusiastically retweeted an economist who had said in part most of the economic problems we're facing, inflation, supply chains, et cetera, are high-class problems.
What is the Granholm plan to increase oil production in America?
Oh my God, that is hilarious.
Well, the number one thing that the president can do is help get COVID under control. That we know is the root cause of inflation.
President Biden this afternoon saying he thinks we're at the peak of the crisis right now and that lower prices are on the way.
The inflation has everything to do with the supply chain. Make no mistake, inflation is largely the fault of Putin. I'm going to do everything I can to minimize Putin's price hike here at home.
If you want to get rid of inflation, the only way to do it is to undo a lot of the Trump tax cuts.
I think ever since you've come into office, things are really looking up. You know, gas is up, rent is up, food is up, everything.
All right, guys, so looks like it's in their steady and capable hands. We have nothing to worry about. All right, but let's dive into this, because I know you saw that title. You're like 3,000% bullshit. But you know we stay bringing those receipts, and here we go. I'm not going to read the whole article. It will be available in the notes. But if you guys can remember, during the global authoritarian propaganda campaign that led to, well, global recession back in 2020, if you're picking up what I'm putting down, U.S. unemployment rate soared to 14.7%, the highest post-World War II figure. Inflation surged to its highest in 40 years, and this led the Fed, those geniuses, to hike short-term interest rates to the steepest since 2007. And as of June, inflation has now accumulated to 3,000% since the inception of the Federal Reserve. Kind of why we should end it and just use Bitcoin. It's way better. But a little history lesson. The Fed was established in December 1913 under some very sketchy circumstances. But let's get to the real moneymaker here. Look at this wonderful chart. I bet this makes you feel all rosy inside. But by comparing the price levels from the end of 1914 to now, we can assess the total inflation under its purview. While there are some disagreements regarding historical CPI data indicating a rise of 2,920 20.2% in the U.S. price level from 1914 through 2022. If you add data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics for the first half of 2023, that puts total inflation at 3,000.2%. And if you look at this chart, I mean, this is crazy. Before the Fed, right? What happened before a central bank? How did people survive? Well, the US dollar's purchasing power was based on the gold standard, and that made it relatively stable, like actual stability. Comparatively, from 1784 to 1914, the inflation rate was nearly zero for over 130 years. Oh, and I wonder how America did during that, century and beyond. Now, contrasting, under the Fed's watch, inflation has surged 3,000% in 110 years, and this is on the American Institute of Economic Research. The study used a diverse set of historical research, including a study by Paul Douglas, in order to provide an even more comprehensive data set than the BLS. However, even with the BLS data, inflation has risen by 2,952% since 1914, and it's projected soon to reach 3,000, so go yourself. But yeah, guys, going back to the intro, inflation predictions courtesy of the state. You saw how that went. It's like weather forecasting, but instead of getting rained on, we just empty our wallets.
Former Assistant Secretary of the Treasury for Public Affairs, Monica Crowley, and economics fellow E.J. Antoni with the Heritage Foundation. Monica, first to you. The White House spent hours today saying Bidenomics is working. It turned the economy around, it says. That Biden is cutting energy costs, but inflation for August came in hotter than expected for the second straight month. What do you think of all this?
Yeah, the White House is trying to put lipstick on this economic pig, but it's still a pig.
Oh yeah, good old fiat statist economics, where every central planner's forecast feels like a game of pin the tail on the donkey. But it's not just America, it's not just us feeling the sting. World over, prices are on a marathon, and let's take a trip, shall we?
$100 bill.
Okay, how many money do you expect are you going to receive?
I don't know. Well, now I feel rich.
This is like Mad Max of capes.
That is... So how much is that worth? Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Amazing.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun, Tucker. The great Mad Max currency exchange, because when your money is worth less than Monopoly cash, you might as well have some fun with it. All right, guys, question here. Have you ever wondered how much you could get for $50 in today's world? Well, this guy did some very sad math.
I try not to complain too much, but we just went to Taco Bell and got food for 4 of us, and it was $53. This morning, we went to an upscale breakfast restaurant and got breakfast for all 4 of us, including an appetizer, and that was $66. So Taco Bell is almost the same exact price to feed a family of 4 as it is to go to an upscale breakfast restaurant. Make it make sense. I don't understand. I mean, I understand inflation's crazy, but this has to be greed. Taco Bell, I mean, we got 3 cheesy gordita crunches and they were $14. So they're like $4 or $5 a piece now for a taco at Taco Bell. A beefy 5-layer burrito is $3.89. I don't understand how this can't be inflation. Taco Bell used to be like $1. You could get $1. A beefy 5-layer burrito was like $2. I don't know, man. Make it make sense. This is insane to me. The price. This has to be price cap.
Honestly, I just miss the days when Taco Bell was the affordable post-party meal. Now you need to take out a loan for some nachos. But don't worry, guys. Jerome Powell has it all under control. But yeah, guys, it's the Fed. They're the reliable fallback, and at the end of the day, they can always print more, right? Right? What could go wrong?
We got less than a minute to go. You had a great tweet. I invite everyone to go to your Twitter and check it out. It's not pretty how the Federal Reserve lost $100 billion. And golly, I mean, I've talked to other folks about this, and some economists are pretty sanguine about it. They say, no problem. They can print more.
Oh, sure, it's no problem until it is, right? It's that old joke, how did you go bankrupt? Well, slowly at first and then suddenly, right? I mean, it's absolutely incredible, Charles, but the irony here is that the Federal Reserve is literally paying over $700 million a day in interest to large financial companies in order to keep literally trillions of dollars sterilized so that it doesn't go into the banking system and multiply. This is their way of squaring the circle of trying to create money for the government to spend without causing inflation. And it also gives you an idea of just how much they need to sell off the balance sheet just to maintain the status quo.
Yeah, and the sad thing is, too, of course, they pay these financial firms, and they don't have to loan money to Main Street America. It's really nuts. It really, really is a crazy system, and it seems like it does doomed to get even worse. EJ, great stuff. I've always admired your work. Thanks for coming on.
Well, spoiler alert, how about a lot? A whole hell of a lot could go wrong. But hey, we're checking out the rest of the world. Let's see how they're handling inflation in Zimbabwe.
For like 2 months now, and Americans are complaining about, the inflation because of the war in Ukraine. Like, oh my God, this inflation is terrible. Hey, I come from Zimbabwe. What the are you talking about? Like, our inflation is so crazy, man. Like, I remember I once got a haircut for $1 million Zimbabwean dollars. Yeah, and by the time the guy finished cutting my hair, it was $20 billion, guys. So in Zimbabwe, if you have money on you, if you have cash, you have to spend it very quick before it loses value. Which means if you hire a prostitute, premature ejaculation was an economical decision, okay? It was to save money, okay? So now people are now avoiding to use money because it will lose value. What we're now doing is we're now using livestock as the new currency, which makes a lot of sense. But the only problem is people are now showing up to the strip club with chickens now.
Oh boy. Imagine going to a club with a goat and some chickens as your currency. Not the best wingman. So after all these numbers and honestly a headache, what's the end game? How do you solve this madness?
It's not okay that our biggest grocery stores are making record profits while Canadians are struggling to put food on the table. So Minister Champagne will be calling on the heads of large grocers to come to Ottawa with a plan to address the rising cost of food. And we expect to hear from them by Thanksgiving on what their plan is to stabilize prices. And let me be very clear. If their plan doesn't provide real relief for the middle class and people working hard to join it, then we will take further action, and we are not ruling anything out, including tax measures.
Oh my God. That's how you solve it. Good old price controls. Justin Trudeau, what a genius. That worked wonderfully in Weimar. The good old state trying to maintain monetary and economic stability. It's like trying to keep a cat in a bathtub. You might manage for a second, but you're gonna get your ass whooped.
No, you can't go. Can't go. You're not doing it. No, you're not going nowhere. Damn it. She's biting me.
Yeah, wonderful. The game plan is to have a sit down with grocery store bigwigs. And if that doesn't work, bring on some more taxes. Because, of course, more taxes always helps, right?
As we've been predicting for months, inflation isn't dead. It's not even resting. In fact, it is rising again. Will the Fed finally go full goblin mode? Fresh numbers from the BLS reported month-on-month inflation at 0.6% for August. That's a 7.5% annualized pace. Core inflation came in lower at 0.3%, but even that was double last month, also an acceleration. By the way, that marks fully 2 years that core has been above 4%. Services inflation, which the Fed was Hail Marying as a savior, reaccelerated to the fastest pace in 5 months. What sent inflation soaring again was food. Gasoline up 10.5% on the month, rent up now 40 consecutive months, and a special appearance by car insurance, which leapt 19% in a year. That's the biggest jump since 1976, when Jimmy Carter was still fiddling with his thermostat in the dark.
More money from you in the state's pocket that goes bankrupt is good, right? My God, clown world is insane. But to sum it up, we are on a wild ride. Inflation skyrocketing, Taco Bell's going upscale, and it looks like our wallets are crying in the corner. Buckle up, guys, and make sure you're protecting yourself from this madness. And one way to do that is with the hardest money ever created, Bitcoin. Right, guys, when we got supply shocks and all these things going on, you want to make sure you take your Bitcoin off of exchanges, you take self-custody, and if you need help getting set up, if you need help with wallets, nodes, no KYC purchases, inheritance planning, guys, the Bitcoin Way is your IT team in the Bitcoin world. If you need help with any of that, we get a link down below, and you can schedule a call with the Bitcoin Way today. Bitcoin, why? Well, in a world where paper money's starting to feel like monopoly cash, Bitcoin stands strong as the decentralized hard money alternative to this inflationary circus. While fiat currencies rely on highly regarded leaders, Bitcoin says, no thanks, I'm gonna stick to math, limited supply, no printing press, no midnight policy changes. So as our world keeps spinning and our money keeps shrinking, maybe it's time to look to Bitcoin to keep our savings from sinking. Man, on that, guys, sorry for the cheesiness, but hey, keep those wallets tight and your Bitcoin seed words tighter. We know how this story ends with Bitcoin ending the Fed.
Mr. Speaker, the Federal Reserve is the culprit. It has delivered this crisis to us. The Federal Reserve's low interest rate policy is a big mistake. It is not a panacea. Artificially low interest rates are achieved by inflating the money supply. Low interest rates penalize the thrifty, and those who save are cheated. It promotes consumption and borrowing over savings and investing. Manipulating interest rates is an immoral act. It is economically destructive. The policy of artificially low interest rates caused our problems and therefore cannot be the solution. The market rate of interest is crucial information for the smooth operation of the economy. A central bank setting interest rates is price fixing and is a form of central economic planning. Price fixing is a tool of socialists and destroys production. Central bankers, politicians, and bureaucrats can't know what the proper rate should be. They lack the knowledge and are deceived by their own aggrandizement. Manipulating the money supply and interest rates rejects all the principles of the free market.
Now remember, guys, you gotta share this video, send out the signal, pump up those views, and keep tuning in to Simply Bitcoin. We will be your guide through the peaceful revolution. You can find us all in the links below, and if you can afford it after the show and all this inflation, grab a taco or two for me. You know, at the end of the day, these central planners are inept, always have been, always will be, and you can tell them to go f themselves like this guy. What a Chad. I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Peace.
SpaceX CEO Elon Musk has recently confirmed a report that last year Musk blocked access to his Starlink satellite network in Crimea. Should there be repercussions for that?
Not at all, Jake. Elon Musk saved the world from a bigger war by refusing to accept Zelensky's demands.
Really? None of this concerns you?
Not at all, and I think you should be happy about it too, but you're not, because you work for CNN, and CNN is a warmonger who profits more as the war escalates. So, f*** you, Jake.